It was a rainy evening when I received the order. Delivery to Blackridge Asylum, 11:30 p.m. I double-checked the address, thought it might be a prank, but the app confirmed it and the payment was already made, along with a generous tip. Strange. I'm Jack Turner, 24, part-time pizza delivery boy and full-time disappointment of my dad. Or so he says. But that night, even my dad's scolding would have felt better than what I was about to face. I reached the outskirts of town. Blackridge stood ahead. A decaying structure, long abandoned. No lights, no sounds, just the soft tapping of rain and the distant hoot of an owl. My phone vibrated. Delivery confirmed. Do not ring the bell. The door will be open. A chill climbed up my spine. I stepped off the bike, pizza box in hand. The scent of cheese and sauce should have comforted me, but it felt like I was carrying something dead. The main door creaked open without a touch. Inside, darkness, dense still and too quiet. And then, a shadow moved at the end of the hallway. Slow, deliberate, watching. I whispered to myself, just drop the pizza and get out. I took one step forward. The door slammed shut behind me. I stood frozen. Ahead, the hallway stretched into pitch black. My feet refused to move, until a faint voice echoed. Room 17. Bring it here. The voice was hoarse, but human. I followed the corridor, guided only by the emergency lights blinking dimly above. Room 12. 13. 14. As I passed room 15, a flash of motion caught my eye. A figure inside the cracked door, sitting, staring, smiling. But the door was locked. I hurried on. Room 17. The door was open. I stepped in. A small, dusty room. An old hospital bed. Medical trays. And an elderly woman sitting in the corner. She looked at me. Her eyes were milky white, like she hadn't seen light in years. You've brought it, she whispered. The cycle begins again. I placed the pizza box on the table, unsure of what to say. Then the lights flickered. And when they returned, she was gone. Only the pizza box remained. Closed, untouched. And now, the smell had changed. No longer pizza. It smelled like earth, like a fresh grave. Suddenly, the wall behind the table shifted. A narrow doorway revealed itself, like the building had exhaled a secret. I stepped through. The next room was surreal. Clocks lined every wall. Dozens, maybe hundreds, each ticking at a different rhythm. Some ticking backward, some frozen. In the center, a stretcher. Someone lay there. As I approached, I saw her. The woman. Her eyes open, but her body still. Jack, she murmured. Don't deliver the pizza, don't feed it. It will open the door. I froze. What door? Before she could answer, a voice behind me spoke. You've gone too far, Jack. I turned. Dr. Felix? I'd seen his photo in an old article online. He was supposed to be dead. His eyes glowed red. His grin was crooked. You think this is just food? He hissed. It's a key. That box. It connects time. Past, present. What lies in the rift? I looked at the pizza box again. No longer food inside. A swirling void of clocks, faces, screaming mouths. Now choose, Felix said. Deliver it and unlock the rift, or stay here forever as the next timekeeper. I trembled. And if I do neither? The wall split open, a dark rift from which shadows poured out, twisted, broken faces, long tongues, former delivery boys, nurses, maybe even the original doctor, Felix. Choose, Jack. Time is ending. The screams grew louder. The clocks ticked like thunder. I reached for the pizza box. It burned cold, if that even makes sense. Then the woman opened her eyes again. Throw it in the rift, Jack. Seal the door forever. But you'll be trapped here. We already are. Set us free. Dr. Felix howled behind me. No! That's our food. We feed on the loop. I held the box tighter. Then I ran and threw the pizza into the rift. Time stopped. The shadows screamed. The walls cracked. The clocks exploded. Dr. Felix's voice turned from monstrous to human. Just a man crying out. The rift swallowed itself. Silence. I woke up in a hospital. Around me, nurses, a police officer, and my manager. You were missing for 2 days, Jack. They found you unconscious near some old ruins. Black Ridge Asylum, I asked. The cop frowned. That place burned down decades ago. Nothing left but rubble. I said nothing. Later, alone, I reached into my pocket. There it was, a faded pizza receipt. One line printed in red. May 25th, 1985, order completed. Life returned to normal. I quit the pizza job. Couldn't sleep much. Nightmares, something inside me had changed. One day I visited the city archive, looked into Black Ridge's last days, found a file. Final patient of Dr. Felix was named Jackson Turner. A photo. It was me. I froze. Was I always a part of this? Was I a patient who never escaped? Or did time bend and wrap me into something else? That night, my doorbell rang. No one there. On the ground, a pizza box. Order number 0001. Name, Jackson Turner Delivery, Black Ridge Asylum. I sat down, looked at the box. Time ticked, and in the silence, I smiled. I picked it up, walked outside, back to where it began. Buried it in the ashes of Black Ridge. It's over, I whispered. The wind blew gently, a falling star crossed the sky. Maybe finally time forgave itself. They say the worst shift is the late night shift. But for me, it was just routine. I worked at Pablo's Pizza, a small joint tucked away near the edge of Ravenhill town. The tips were decent, the hours were long, and the roads at night always too quiet. That night, around 11:18 p.m., an online order came in. Just as I was about to punch out. Large cheese burst, extra olives, name on the receipt, Victor Blackmore. Location, Ravenhill Mansion. I froze. Everyone in town knew the stories. That place had been abandoned for decades. Kids dared each other to step onto the front porch, but no one ever stayed longer than a minute. Some said it was cursed, some said it was haunted, and some swore they heard music playing from inside. At midnight. Sharp. I should have refused. But my manager, a guy who barely lifted his eyes from his phone, said, 30 minutes or it's free. Go. I grabbed the box and drove off, the streets eerily silent. Like the town was holding its breath. I reached the mansion just as the clock hit 11:43 p.m. It stood like a shadow against the sky, towering, lifeless, yet watching. The gate was already open. Creeping up the cracked stone steps, I reached the front door and rang the bell, half expecting it not to work. But it did. A sharp, echoing chime rang through the house. The door creaked open, just a little. Hello? I called out, a pizza delivery? No reply. I pushed the door further, stepping into the dark. A chandelier above flickered dimly. The smell of damp wood and something else, something rotting, filled the air. Suddenly, from the hallway, a soft voice whispered, "In here." I turned. At the end of the corridor stood a woman in white, pale, long-haired, barefoot. She didn't move, just stood there, watching. My throat went dry. Your pizza?" She turned slowly and walked deeper into the house, and without knowing why, I followed. The moment I crossed the threshold, the door slammed shut behind me. I jumped, spinning around. but the entrance was sealed tight. Panic started creeping in. But the woman in white had disappeared down the hallway. I followed, my footsteps echoing unnaturally on the wooden floor, like the house was amplifying them just to mess with me. The walls were lined with old paintings. Eyes that seemed to follow me, faces that almost looked familiar. Everything was covered in a thin layer of dust, yet there was this stillness. Not the kind you find in abandoned places, but the kind that hides just before something happens. I turned a corner and saw her again. She was standing by a staircase now, facing a large portrait of a man with piercing eyes and a twisted smile. She turned her head slightly without looking at me and whispered upstairs. I didn't want to go. Every bone in my body screamed at me to leave, but my feet moved anyway, like I wasn't in control anymore. As I climbed the stairs, the temperature dropped. My breath turned to mist and a low hum, like someone tuning a violin, filled the air. At the top of the staircase was a long hallway, with doors on either side and candlelight flickering at the far end. I reached a room that looked like an old study. The air was heavy, and the fireplace burned, though no one was there. On the desk lay a letter sealed with red wax. Next to it, a dusty record player spun silently. I broke the seal and unfolded the letter. It read, "To the one who delivers the final order, you are not the first. You will not be the last. This house was built on hunger, not for food, but for souls. 30 minutes is not to deliver, but to survive." The clock on the wall ticked loudly. 11:49 p.m. And then I heard it. A piano. Faint. Far. Playing from somewhere deep in the house. I grabbed the pizza box, still warm, and turned to leave the room. But the hallway behind me had changed. It no longer led back to the stairs. Instead, it led to darkness. I stood at the threshold of darkness, frozen. The hallway behind me, the one I had just walked through, was gone, swallowed by shifting walls that now pulsed like they were breathing. I turned, clutching the pizza box like it was a shield, and stepped into the blackness. As soon as I did, candles lit themselves one by one along the walls, guiding me. A chill swept over me, carrying faint whispers, laughter, and distant sobs. It felt like walking inside a dying memory. Then I saw him. At the end of the corridor, a tall man stood by a grand piano playing a broken melody. His back was to me, but something about his posture felt wrong. Too still. When he turned, his eyes locked onto mine, cold, calculating. "Welcome, David," he said. He knew my name. He was dressed in old-fashioned clothes, black velvet with a red ascot. His face, I recognized it. It was the man from the painting downstairs, Victor Blackmore. "You've arrived at the perfect moment," he said. "The cycle is nearly complete." "What are you talking about?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. He smiled. "This house is a gate, a hungry one. Every 100 years it must be fed, and not with food, but with fear, with choices, with souls who don't know they've already been chosen." I felt the blood drain from my face. He stepped closer. "You were lured here not to deliver pizza, but to deliver time. Your time, your fear, your story." Behind him I saw the woman in white again, standing silently by the piano. Only now she looked sad and real. "She was once like you," Victor said, motioning to her. "A girl named Eliza. The house took her long ago. Now she belongs to it." Eliza whispered, "There's still a way out." I looked at her, desperate. How? She glanced toward the record player I saw earlier. Play the melody backward, before midnight, and you can break the cycle, but only if you choose someone to take your place. Victor laughed, slowly, clapping. The house must always eat. One goes free, one stays behind. That's the rule. The clock struck 11:55 p.m. 5 minutes. I had a choice. Eliza's voice echoed in my head. Bring someone else and you'll be free. I stood in that cursed room, the reversed melody playing behind me, warping the air like it was bending reality. Victor watched me calmly, as if he'd already won. Time's almost up, he said. Choose or stay. I looked down at the pizza box in my hands, still warm, still absurd in this place of death and shadows. And then I thought of all the faces I'd seen trapped here. Shadows of people who had walked in, thinking it was just another delivery. Maybe some had made the trade and some hadn't. And if I choose no one, I asked. Victor's smile faded. Then you stay. Forever. The clock struck 11:59 p.m. I closed my eyes. Elliot's face came to mind. The young boy from 5 years ago, still trapped, still exactly the same. He had been lured like I was. There was no justice in letting that cycle continue. I opened my eyes. Then I stay. The air turned still. Victor blinked. What? I won't do to someone else what was done to me. The moment the words left my mouth, the walls began to shake. The mirror behind Victor cracked, once, then twice, before shattering into dust. The house groaned, like something ancient was dying from within. Victor screamed, lunging toward me, but Eliza stepped between us. Her eyes burned white as her voice rose like thunder. The pact is broken. Light poured from her hands, and Victor shrieked as his body began to dissolve, like ash caught in a storm. The piano crashed behind us. The walls split open. The ground buckled. Then silence. I opened my eyes again and found myself standing on the front steps of the mansion. The sun was rising. The pizza box was gone. My phone buzzed. Order delivered, 29:59. And behind me, the house was no longer there. Just an empty field, as if the mansion had never existed. No one never found records of a Victor Blackmore. No one else remembered a mansion at the edge of town. Not even my manager believed me when I came back with torn clothes and a 1,000-yard stare. But I remember, and every time I hear a melody I don't recognize. My name is Joseph Hilton, and once I delivered a pizza that cost more than a man's sight. It happened in a ghostly coastal town of Spain, Puerto de la Sombra, a place where tourists rarely visit and shadows never leave. I worked evening shifts at a local pizza shop called Red Oven, delivering orders on my old motorbike. It was meant to be a temporary gig, quick cash, no stress. But one night, I received an order that still haunts me. 11:42 p.m. the order came in. Warehouse 9, Port de la Sombra, midnight sharp. That address stopped me cold. It was in the abandoned shipping yard, a place where only seagulls, rust, and maybe ghosts linger. But the order was prepaid, and a strange memo was attached. Keep the box sealed. Do not smell it. Do not speak to them. I laughed nervously. Something deep inside me didn't. At exactly 11:57 p.m., I reached the port. The air was damp and heavy with the scent of seaweed and rotting wood. Warehouse 9 stood before me. Rusted doors, shattered windows, and a half-burnt boat lying beside it. I turned off my bike, grabbed the box. It felt heavier than a regular pizza. Not heavy with weight, but with something I couldn't name. Before I could knock, the door creaked open on its own. Inside, darkness swallowed everything except a dim, flickering torch in the corner. Beneath it sat a girl, Olivia. She wore a pale white dress, her eyes staring straight at me. No, through me. You're Joseph, aren't you? I froze. How do you know my name? I saw it. In your eyes. I placed the box before her, hesitating. Here's your order. She smiled faintly. Now the game begins. Something shifted in the shadows behind her, then again and again. 4 figures emerged from the darkness. No eyes, melted wax-like faces, skin like pale leather. They're called the Bod Eyes, Olivia said softly. Once they wanted to see everything. Now, they feel everything. My knees buckled. I stammered. What is inside the box? She whispered. You may look, but don't. I lifted the lid just a little. It wasn't pizza, it was eyes. Dozens of them. Red, green, hazel, blue. Alive. Staring at me. One eye moved slightly like it recognized me. What is this? Each eye is a door, she said, and every door demands a sacrifice. She looked into my soul. Tonight, Joseph, the sacrifice is you. The Bod Eyes circled me. Their feet scraped the wooden floor like sandpaper. Olivia said, if you destroy the box, they'll be freed. If you try to take it back, you'll become one of them. I clutched the box and ran into the back room where a door stood marked Las Pupilas, the Watchers. It opened as I approached. Inside was a mirror, but no reflection, just a single eye, mine fluttering alive. Then a voice echoed, You've seen too much. Your sight is forfeit. No, you can't take my eyes, I screamed. I heard Olivia yell behind me, Burn the box, that's the only way. My hands were shaking. I opened the box again. The eyes began to scream. Not cry, scream. It didn't smell like pizza. It smelled like burning flesh. I took out my lighter and set the box on fire. The Bod Eyes howled, walls cracked, air turned black, and then silence. I woke up in my room, but everything was dark. I stumbled to the mirror. My left eye was gone. Only a black hole stared back at me. On the table lay a receipt. Red Oven confirms your delivery. Order Eyes for the Blind. Rating 5 stars.